Today we're diving into a story about survival. But this isn't about bears in the wilderness. It's about the absolutely brutal global oil market. The hero of our story faced a massive attack, but its secret weapon wasn't a bigger drill, it was something cooked up on Wall Street. Let's get into it.
So when you think of an oil well, what pops into your head? For most of us, it's probably something super simple, right? You just drill a hole, stick a giant straw in the ground, and suck up all the oil. Easy.
And you know what? For conventional oil, that's not too far off. It's kind of like a coconut. You just poke a hole and the juice comes out. But the US was sitting on a ton of a totally different kind of oil, shale oil. And this stuff, it's the complete opposite. The oil is literally trapped between layers of solid rock. Getting it out is a huge, expensive pain, which is why, for decades, nobody bothered. It just didn't make any sense financially.
But then, technology caught up. All of a sudden, new techniques made it possible to actually pull this tricky oil out of the ground and make a profit. And just like that, this unlikely oil boom kicked off, and it was about to completely rewrite the global energy map.
And wow, what a boom it was. Just look at these numbers. Back around 2008, the US was pumping out about 5 million barrels a day. Fast forward just 5 years, and that number rocketed up to 7.5 million. That is not a small increase, folks. That's a seismic shift that put the US in a wild new position. It was basically swimming in its own oil. Now, as you can probably guess, the established players, the old guard of the oil world, they were not happy about this new competition. Not at all. They saw their number one customer starting to supply itself, and they decided they had to do something about it. At its heart, this whole conflict was about one thing: market share. The US shale boom was grabbing a massive piece of the pie, and the big oil-producing countries in OPEC, well, they saw their biggest customer becoming self-sufficient, and they were not about to let that happen without a major fight. And this quote right here, it perfectly sums up their whole strategy. OPEC made a very calculated move. They decided to flood the market with their own oil, which is super cheap for them to produce. And the goal? To drive prices so low that the expensive US shale producers would go broke. This slide basically shows the knockout punch. Before the price war, oil was selling for around $95 a barrel. As you can see, the US shale guys needed about $60 just to break even. But OPEC's move shoved the price all the way down below $50. All of a sudden, every single barrel of oil the US pumped was losing them money. So this brings us to the real mystery of this whole story. By any normal logic, these shale companies should have gone bankrupt, right? Their costs were way, way higher than the price they could sell their oil for. So the million-dollar question is, how on earth did they survive this? Well, the answer turned out to be a secret weapon. And it wasn't some new kind of drill or a lucky geological find. Nope, the solution to their problem wasn't buried in the ground at all. It was finance. That's it. They basically put up a financial shield. They survived not by drilling better, but by using some really clever financial tools to protect themselves from the price crash. They fought an oil war with paper contracts. So how does that even work? To really get their strategy, we've got to take a quick detour into the world of commodities markets. Now, I know it might sound super complex, but really at its heart, it's just a big market for buying and selling insurance. And the most important idea here is hedging. Forget all the Wall Street jargon. Hedging is just a fancy word for getting insurance. It's a way to guarantee the price you're going to get for something you plan to sell way off in the future. It just gets rid of all the uncertainty. And the tool they use to get this insurance is called a futures contract. This slide breaks it down perfectly. It's just a simple, legally binding agreement. Party A, that's our oil producer, promises to sell Party B a certain amount of oil on a specific date in the future, at a price they both agree on today. So no matter what happens to the market price in 2026, their deal is locked in at $90 a barrel. Now, in this market, you've really only got two types of people. First, there's the hedger. That's our shale oil company. They aren't trying to make a killing on the contract. All they want is certainty. They just want that insurance policy. Then, on the other side, you have the speculator. These folks have zero interest in ever seeing a barrel of oil. They're just betting on which way the price is going to move, hoping to make a quick profit. You might be thinking that speculators are just a bunch of gamblers, but believe it or not, they play a super important role. They bring what's called liquidity, which is just a ton of cash and activity into the market. And all that action makes it incredibly easy for our hedger, the oil company, to find someone willing to take the other side of their insurance deal. Without speculators, hedging would be way harder, maybe even impossible. Okay, so now that we've got the financial tools down, let's circle all the way back to our main story and see how this clever strategy led to the great shale's survival. Here is exactly how they pulled it off. It's brilliant. Step 1. While prices were still nice and high, the shale companies sold a bunch of those futures contracts, locking in those awesome prices for years to come. Step 2. When OPEC finally crashed the market, it didn't matter to them. They were still getting paid that higher pre-agreed price. And step 3, this is the kicker. That guaranteed income gave them the cash and, just as importantly, the time they needed to innovate and figure out how to slash their future production costs. And the result? They made it. They survived the price war. And today, thanks to all that innovation they were forced to do, the U.S. shale industry is stronger than it has ever been. In fact, U.S. oil production is now at an all-time high. They didn't just survive the attack, they ended up winning. And that really brings us to our final thought here. The story of shale is such a powerful reminder that huge, world-changing events are often being driven by these invisible financial forces that most of us never even see. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other invisible financial tools are shaping our world as we speak?